What's up guys, it's Alexander here, back at you with another quick video. This time I'm going to be going over the announcement for a new DLC for the only video game with online multiplayer that I bother playing as an adult anymore, Age of Empires 2. An hour ago, T90 here has posted a video titled New DLC Announced, and it's revolving around a rework of the Viking civilization. And I'm going to try my best to give you guys my first impressions. Fair warning, I don't have very high expectations, so I'm going to be taking a shot here of Malibu Pink, just to brace myself. So, without further ado here, let's get into it. Let's see what he has to say.
On the Age of Empires official website, they just made a post where they were recapping the year 2026, and they celebrated many of the different things that happened, some of which is Age of Empires 2, which is, I know, why you're here. Now, not to disrespect ageofempires.com, but I'm going to scroll past all of that wonderfully written things which recap the year, because the big thing here is there is a new Age of Empires 2 DLC on the horizon.
I just want to say, fair warning, something that I'm absolutely sick of on multiple levels when it comes to the Age of Empires series is Microsoft and their private equity meat-puppeted studios that do all the development constantly trying to shove Age of Empires games other than Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition down people's throats. I'm freaking sick of it. I'm tired of hearing and watching Age of Empires 4. They shove this down everybody's throats with the Red Bull Wololo tournament. And to make matters worse and add insult to injury, they had a chilling code of silence enforced on all the big streamers, people like T90, where they're not really allowed to come out and say, you know what, this is bullshit. People aren't watching us about Age of Empires 4. You're imposing this on us. It's disgusting, it's creepy, it's corrupt. Please stop. So since T90 can't say it because his professional career would be over, I'm gonna say it. Shut the fuck up about Age of Empires 4. Microsoft. We don't care. If we cared, we would have bought the game and we would read the blog post, but you know that we don't. So you're shoving it into the Age of Empires 2 content like that's gonna make us give a shit. Just cut it out. Anyways.
And it is called the Viking Sagas. Now, there's been a lot of speculation across the community that this was coming. This is on the back of an AoE4 DLC, I think, that was themed in a similar era. But let's get into it. Let's read through it. Let's see what they show us. More Norse, of course, coming this fall with Age of Empires 2 Definitive Editions, the Viking Sagas. Raiders of the North isn't our only foray into Scandinavian stories this fall, as the next expansion for Age of Empires 2 DE is the Viking Sagas. The Viking Sagas brings 3 new civilizations, the Danes, the Saxons, and the Varangians.
I like the choice of civs here. It's a natural choice. Danes and Saxons especially. I'm not too deeply versed on the history of Western Europe to have an opinion on whether Varangians are cool. I'm just going to assume they're cool. Great start.
Use the Danes' unique Joms Viking unit to raid and hurl flaming torches. Wield the Saxons' Hearth Troop, a heavy infantryman which opens fights with a ranged javelin before closing in. Or send out the Varangians' Jarl to hurl axes and tear through enemy infantry.
All right. So I think it's pretty clear just from that we are getting a rehash of everything people were complaining about when it came to the Three Kingdoms DLC. The development studios behind Age of Empires 2 DE, they're on a long march to ruin this game by turning the gameplay dynamics into that of Age of Empires 3 and 4. That's what's happening here, and they started doing this with the Three Kingdoms DLC. They just completely threw off the balance of the game by introducing a handful of civs that fundamentally work differently from every single civilization in this game since it was created. And they're doubling down on this. They doubled down on this the first time with the South American expansions, with the whole Champy mess. That DLC is nothing but a mess, and I still haven't bought it to this day because I'm just so disgusted with those civilizations and how grossly they were mishandled and overcorrected for to make matters worse. They're not fun. I don't care to play them. It seems like with these expansion civs, we're going to have more of the same potential pitfalls, because here's the basic problem with turning Age of Empires 2 gameplay into AoE3. There's way more room to get it wrong. You guys are experimenting way too heavily with and risking breaking fundamental fundamental formulas that make Age of Empires 2 a reliable and fun experience to play. You're fucking with the formula. Stop it. Like, there's a limit. It's fine to add new things and to be creative. Don't get me wrong. But it seems like that all they want to do is add things that just fundamentally alter the balance of the game in a way that just makes it even more impossible to keep up with and to learn, detracting from the gameplay elements that ever made this game fun in the first place. It makes it a lot more of a gamble to where the only interestingness in a match is the skill of doing things like micro and macro, quick walling, and other things that we hyper focus on when we watch pro level tournaments. But if you actually play the game, it's not a thing. There's no serendipity anymore. Like when I was playing on the HD edition, I would love to do tower rushes as the Koreans. They don't hit the same anymore because they changed the balance of that civ. Now it's an archer civilization. It was never an archer civ before. Now it is. And I don't even think those changes are the end of the world, but it's different. Everything has been smoothed out and streamlined and just made so generic, and it just feels like civilizations themselves are conceptualized by the dev teams as a gimmick rather than an aesthetic. They treat it like they need to be fundamentally different tools, and every civilization is this completely bespoke thing. I just have to come right out and say to you guys, that's insane. With how many civilizations that people would be expected to play with and to deal with in this game, nobody can enjoy it because here's what's going to happen. This is a real-time strategy, and unless you're an absolute brainiac like Hera, or you're a pro-level player that can afford to memorize every single freaking civ, and all the potential pitfalls that come with their highly specialized, highly unique, highly situational, just categorically, functionally different from everything else in the game units, what's going to happen is you're going to get surprised, and that's going to throw the match, and it's game over. This is a real-time strategy game. This is not a shallow gameplay, and what they're doing here with these civilizations and making them like AoE3 is that they're removing the depth of the experience by replacing it with the depth of the content. Probably responsive to pressures exerted onto them by their private equity overlords to get them to make more content and to keep this money funnel that they think they have running forever and ever until the end of time. And it makes for a dog shit gaming experience where it's just not even fun to play anymore because it's like, I don't know, I got champy rushed. There's not even an equivalent of that in the original Age of Empires 2. And that beckons right back to the fundamentals of why people still played this game after Microsoft stopped giving a shit about it for 20 years. We are drilling right back down to the fundamentals of why this game was left in the gutter to begin with. Because the people who own it and are responsible for it don't give a shit about it. And these DLCs are proof. I just can't in good conscience currently with what I'm seeing here envision buying this because I don't play single player. I don't care about campaigns. I'm like everybody who's on YouTube with this game. I play multiplayer. I'm on the rank ladder and I'm not even high elo, but I enjoy it and I try to be the best that I can like anybody would be. How am I supposed to enjoy Jom's Viking units that hurl flaming torches? I don't even know what to expect. Is that going to be like a throwing axeman, or is that the Jarl that they're talking about? Is it going to be like a Tarkan? Is it going to be like the Gebettos? What's it going to be like? I mean, there's just so many things. There's so much complexity that they just keep adding into this stuff. No one can ever hope to keep up with it. And if you can't keep up with all of it, there's just no way that you're going to have a good, fun, satisfying game because failures that will cost you the entire game are going to completely take you by surprise unless you have just insane memory recall. And even for people who have good memories like me, I've got a photogenic memory. I could do this, but why? I'm here playing a game. I would rather apply my photogenic memory to like adult things, you know? Like I got a freaking career outside of this. I try to do this just to let off. Why would I need to go and apply my photogenic memory here to go and become somebody like Hera? I'm not trying to be like that. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to play against other human beings because I'm pushing 30 like a lot of people in the world right now. And I just, you know, it's not satisfying to play single player. And on the other hand, it's not fun to completely tax my brain for a video game. Age of Empires used to scratch this itch for me, and now the devs are ruining it because they don't understand their own game. What the hell? These units, this is not the way. This pattern here that we're seeing with the units, that is the problem.
You can follow the life of Harald Hardrada in 3 new campaigns, from his cunning exploits across the Mediterranean, his brutal raids across the Danish coast, to his daring invasion of England in 1066. You will earn renown through the Skald's Tales and fight your way from Scandinavia to the, oh boy, Kievan Rus and the Byzantine Empire before staking everything on England's shores.
Right.
In this new story, you'll encounter powerful antagonists,
We don't care.
including the duplicitous Empress Zoe and dangerous
only thing we
King
care less about is Age of Empires
Sven
4.
and battle-tested King Errol Godwinson.
We don't care.
The Viking Sagas will launch this fall, with pre-orders coming later this summer.
We're not
If you'd like to learn
pre-ordering
more,
it.
head to your platform of choice and wish list now. So yeah, basically they announced this whole thing. They also talk a little bit about Age of Empires 3.
We don't
But they
care.
showed us some footage of this and gave us a few more details.
Okay.
By the way, leave a like on this if you're excited for this DLC.
I'm not.
But also, if you are ever so slightly impressed with my pronunciations there, it wasn't my best, it wasn't my worst. But yeah. They always create these really cool images that tease some of the new units. There's time for speculation on some of this later. And we'll read in a second about some of the potential changes to the land and the water. But very cool looking. New architecture, of course. Pretty damn.
Holy shit. Oh my god. Is this fucking real? This is fucking embarrassing. This is, holy shit, I cannot, like, of course it could only be the official stuff. This looks shittier than any dignified... This is worse than the fucking mods that we had 15 years ago. This looks like shit. What the fuck is this fucking Civ... What is this architecture style? This looks like trash. Are they seriously gonna try to fucking sell this heaping pile of shit? This looks so fucking bad. This is like Ugly Sonic put into an Age of Empires 2 architecture set. What the fuck? There's no fucking depth of shading. It's disgustingly formulaic in terms of the established building styles for the types of buildings that you have on the tech tree list. The market looks painfully like a market. The TC looks painfully like a TC. It's just utterly dispirited. What the fuck is this crap? This looks awful, man. Like, at least with the South American civs, like, they looked good. And it was understandable. People said the Inca castle was ugly, and it's like, well, it's Incas, and there's a point to that. This is soulless. This is fucking trash. Holy crap, this is fucking bad. This, regardless of the gameplay, this is actually going to cause it to financially flop. People are not going to buy. This looks like shit, man. People aren't fucking buying this crap. Holy shit, man.
Cool. If you ask me, we got some
man.
bridges in action behind my face here, which you can't see because I'm in the way. Yeah, looks nice, looks nice, looks nice.
Yeah,
here's some of the new units they're talking about.
Now that looks better, but that's not the new architecture style, is it? These are specialty buildings that they've made in the Western European style, which we've had since 1999. So it's kind of hard to fuck that up. It's kind of hard to ruin something you already have that works, right? But it does look good. I don't know what those buildings are, and I'm sure we'll never see them in competitive ranked ladder, but yeah.
Well,
I guess
doesn't look like there's an actual battle happening here, but things look really, really tasty, really, really cool. And
just that straw styling. God. It's like they don't even know what they were going for. It's like 2 or 3 different people had a different creative vision, and then all of them decided not to communicate with one another and just hammer it all out nail by nail. It looks not just bad, but also schizophrenic, especially when you go through up the ages. It seems like they had one person do feudal age and a completely different person do castle age, and then those people never fucking coordinated creatively. This is shit, man.
And yeah, let's get into some of the units. Yeah, there's some of the new architecture as well. Really, really nice.
No.
All right, so there's some video footage here showing some of the units interacting with each other here. We're going to completely look past the fact that there's definitely a monk walking into battle with a relic there. This isn't supposed to be a real battle, guys. They're just showing off some of the cool stuff that we can play with in the fall. Anyways, 3 new civilizations, right? As they said, the Danes pressure opponents early with swift long ships, which indicates some changes to water to strike without warning. The unique Danish unit, the Joms Viking, is ideal for these raids as a nimble and hard infantryman that hurls flaming torches to devastate the enemy buildings and ships.
So it's a Tarkan that's not on horseback. How original. That's great. I'm sure they'll find a way to fuck up the gameplay on this in a competitive context, and that'll be a nightmare and a half to deal with, because they don't have people like Sandy Peterson working on this shit anymore, guys. Instead, Sandy Peterson does podcasts for us about the glory days when people gave a shit about this game as they were making it.
So it feels like an infantry unit that like has a ranged unit. They're kind of getting into that now. They did so with other DLCs like Fire Lancers and things.
Fire Lancers were, all things considered, pretty alright. If anything, the only shame about Fire Lancers is that they're a regional unit. But other than that, it's a great in-between the light and the heavy infantry. It's okay.
Saxons construct mighty fortified towns to lock down territory, stand firm against relentless invasions.
What does that mean?
The unique unit is the Hearth Troop, a heavy infantryman that opens fire with a ranged javelin before closing in for intense melee combat. So
it's a gimmick unit. It's, again, all things considered, the Fire Lancer's fine, but certain attributes of these types of things that the devs have been introducing, at least since the Three Kingdoms DLC, the devs seem to have a very different perspective on what's actually interesting or valuable about these units. They think the Fire Lancer shooting a gun beforehand is the important part, but everybody who actually plays this game for more than 5 minutes understands that that's incidental. Anybody who watches a pro tournament understands that's incidental. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you watch a pro tournament as a developer, and since you're just hyper focused on that and you don't actually play this game for any real amount of time, you're always just play testing, or you're watching Hera and the Viper, all the other pro players, and you think that matters more because your perspective is warped by pro play and how matches will have the tide turned by whether or not how many Fire Lancers can get a shot through and tip the balance. Well, newsflash, that's not relevant to 99% of us, which are the people that are supposed to be paying for this, okay? We're your prospective customers. Maybe you should actually understand how Fire Lancers work if you want us to buy this shit.
Again, another infantry unit. It's got range, but its melee is going to be attached to the Saxons.
Yeah.
The Varangians fearlessly master the waterways, ride down your foes, and leverage mercenary-style flexibility. The Jarl, the Vengarian unique unit, is a fearsome axe-hurling cavalryman.
So it's another gimmick unit. It's the contrapositive of the, what are they calling it? The Joms Viking. The Joms Viking is a dismounted Tarkan. And what is this? A mounted axeman. Come the fuck on. Even when they're trying to be creative and original, it's the most uncreative, unoriginal shit. All you have here is stuff that just completely fucks up the gameplay by adding tons of complexity load onto people that want to think about this just to understand what's going on the map in real-time strategy, mind you. And for what? So you can write a good-sounding blog post that sounds like the most interesting shit in the universe? Because that's all we're really accomplishing here. This is a very interesting blog post, and if you just read the words and you don't think about anything and cross-reference it with any actual experience of playing, it sounds like the best. It sounds better than anything else. So that's what we're doing.
Whose attack tears through enemy infantry. So maybe kind of similar to a throwing axeman for the Franks.
Yeah.
Probably with a little bit of a Viking spin on it, I'm sure. But here's the specifics. So the Vangarian Guards, deadly shock infantry who generates gold while fighting and excel at raiding and melee combat. So you're going to get some gold while fighting with this unit.
Age of Empires 2 was never supposed to have military units that have passive economic benefits. And every single time that they have introduced this into the game, it's created a massive balancing headache for no fucking reason. This is just another variable that everybody has to suddenly care about. Like it is with, I forget if it's the Tupi or Muisca because I don't own this DLC. One of them gets a 15% rebate on their unique unit. This shit is just fucking broken. And I'm not saying broken in just the classic overused pejorative sense that everybody else says. I mean that it's literally breaking the games because you guys are introducing an entirely new variable. You're mixing military with economy inside a single unit. It's too much to think about. And the default outcome of that, until you guys bend over backwards to rebalance it, is a situation like what it was with the 15% rebate on the stupid Blackwood Archers or whatever the fuck they were, where it's just obviously and patently and unambiguously broken. And there's no deeper reflection on like, hey, maybe putting economic benefits into military unit creation is kind of just fucking begging the question. Maybe that's overcomplicating things to a point that's just not worth it. But sure, if all you watch are Red Bull sponsored tournaments and all you watch is T90 streams all fucking day, then yeah, maybe your perspective can be warped by the creme de la creme of what you guys have chosen as representing the community, which by the way, these guys all have working relationships with the developers. Totally not a case of blinders where the people that you're relying on to tell you the truth and represent the community also have a massive disincentive to be frank with you, or if they are, then you just disregard them and they're very limited in what they can do to bring backlash onto you for doing that. Case in point with Hera. That's not the fucking source of input that you guys are acting like it is. This is ridiculous. This is, I don't know game design. This is not how this game works. It's not how it's supposed to work.
Which is in 1 or 2 units and civs already for AoE. A mounted crossbowman is
1 or 2. This is new. My thesis is it's not Age of Empires 2. It's Age of Empires 3 or 4, which no one plays. Wonder why. Does anyone even ask why we don't play AoE 3?
a hard-hitting but slow-firing ranged cavalry who strike fear into infantry armies. Curious what that's going to look like. There's obviously the cavalry archer.
There's the war wagon. There's a thought. They're kind of like a mounted crossbowman. Is this really that new of a unit?
This is a mounted crossbowman. Maybe it's a little bit slower. Maybe it's kind of like an elephant archer. We'll see. Long ships or swift warships that combine potency and versatility. You can see them here, briefly anyways, as you can see some of the other units. And yeah, there's the mounted crossbowman there. Looks pretty cool. Okay. I wonder if the long ship is just like the new long boats. Like, that kind of makes sense to me. And maybe if they're splitting up the Vikings, that only one civilization is going to get the long ships. Still a lot to find out here, of course. But I'll read a little bit more. They didn't give us too much just yet. Experience the epic saga of Harald Hardrada across 3 interconnected campaigns. Actually, we read that. But here's the name of the campaigns. The Exiled Prince.
We don't care.
The very tyrant he fights to overcome. Very well written. And then The Last Viking. I've said this before. I really enjoy history. I don't remember as much as many of the viewers out there.
If you really enjoy history, you will hate at least half of the campaigns in Age of Empires 2. They don't do that good of a job of handling source material since the DLCs especially. I will give credit where it's due. They do a decently good job when you're talking about the Ensemble Studios productions, their campaigns. It's a mixed bag even as early as Forgotten Empires. And it's been largely a shit show when it comes to what the new Definitive Edition devs have done. They don't know their history as well as they act like they do. And there are tons of comments that are quietly dissenting to these sorts of developments, especially when it comes to how they decide to name and categorize unique units. Speaking of, let's see a couple of those. Very hyped, was not expecting, will Viper be voicing? I feel like having the Varangians as a civilization stretches that term beyond its breaking point. Valid point. What are the Varangians? They're like the Lombards. Is that really a civilization? If you really knew your history, you wouldn't say the Lombards were a civilization. They were a people for a very brief time. What the hell? Reminder that Huskarls, who were axe-wielding house guards for the Norse, is the Goth unique unit with a sword and shield. Ouch. That's a historical inaccuracy that dates back to the Conquerors, or hell, even the original. Varangians were Norse mercenaries and bodyguards serving the Byzantines. They're not a civilization. Agreed, a little cringe, and so many better options. Yeah, guys, it's almost like the people in charge of this shit show don't know what the fuck they're doing, and no one has any power to stop them because, woo, money! I have private equity and permission from Microsoft, so fuck the entire world, and what everybody else thinks doesn't matter because I have the official blah blah blah. Who gives gives a shit? This game was in the shitter until 2014. What reason is there that it couldn't go back there and things just regress to normal once they're done taking all of our fucking money by getting our hopes up and lying to us? I'm not here to wax poetic about why the world is just increasingly nothing but a scam, but that's what this is. This is a fucking scam. We're all just sitting here getting scammed by Microsoft. And T90 is in a very unfortunate predicament of his career, and he makes a lot of money, and he supports a family, and he's built his life around the fact that he's kind of boxed into this. He is not the person that anybody of us can count on to just call it like it is. And I'm not blaming him for that. I get it. You can't get this man to be frank with you that this is a heaping pile of dog shit. But it is. It absolutely is. Everything we've seen so far about this is fucking trash. This is what people were saying about Lords of the West. It's a cheap shot. Even if they sell it for $10, it's not gonna sell well. I'll just tell you that right now. The architecture set alone is gonna turn off all the casuals because it looks just profoundly lazy. What else is there? Awesome reading voice, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not a whole lot to see. But there is one other thing I'll tell you, and this is just from, my thinking here, and because I know a lot of Indonesians who are the actual real world basis for what is in Age of Empires 2, the Malay civilization. There's a lot of thits about the Malay that are kind of stupid. If you know anything about the Malay people, anything about Indonesia, anything about Malaysia, anything about the Majapahits or any other civilization or thalassocracy in Southeast Asian history for that matter, the way that they're constructed in Age of Empires 2 is actually retarded. Karambit warriors are a stupid concept. There are historical terms for what they were going for. They didn't get it right because they didn't give a shit to ask somebody who would really know what they're looking for. And it's so bad and egregious that me, some rando who incidentally knows a historically literate Indonesian, can get it right. Why should I be able to get it right when the people who are developing this stuff and are officially sanctioned can't get it right? And apparently they can't be asked to hire anybody who could. What the fuck is this crap? This is bullshit. And I'm not paying for this, and neither should you. There's many examples of this, but that's the point.
The Herald is like a character I'm very familiar with. Some of his conquering voyages. I completely butchered the pronunciations there, but anyways, I'm familiar with like this specifically. Really, really cool, and it might be fun for anyone who enjoys the campaigns. That's basically it. This is the first look. There's going to be more teases and stuff. And I will hopefully get early access to make videos and everything for you all.
Will.
As always,
sure you will.
With some of the more recent DLCs, hesitantly optimistic. There's so many civs in the game. There's so many new things they're adding. And so there is a...
This is T90 tacitly acknowledging his own subdued anxieties about the problems that I just explicitly identified earlier in this video. In other words, he knows everything that I know and everything that you know, but unlike me, he's not willing to come out and say it. Instead, he's just gonna vaguely mumble and waffle here about there's so many new civs and there's so many things to learn and blah, 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 but he's not gonna actually say the problems that this poses. He knows that this is bullshit. He knows because he spent thousands and thousands of hours casting and playing this game. He's a top 100 guy. He knows probably better than I do why this is a heaping pile of shit, but he's under so many layers of pressure that he can't even conceive of making a video where he's even remotely forthcoming about that. You're seeing it right now. Bro knows this is not gonna go over well. He's hesitantly optimistic. Okay, buddy, you know that there's a problem here, but you just wanna just believe so ardently that everything will go well, maximizing your own bias in favor of your own whatever benefits because you've hitched your wagon to it. I understand, I get it, but that's what this is. That doesn't help the rest of us.
A little bit of worry. Are these things going to be too strong? Are these things going to fit the base of Age of Empires 2? And, I will say that it does seem like there's similarities to things that already exist in the game.
Another thing I already said, but a lot more explicitly and honestly. These are fucking clones.
We just got to find out eventually, like, what the balance is like. What's the cost like? What's the production like? How do these units interact? I'm sure there's going to be bugs along the way.
Yeah, There's going to be no balance at launch, and you know it, Tristan, just as well as the rest of us. This is going to be fucking broken on launch. And yet somehow we're all being induced or gaslit or whatever you want to call it into thinking that we ought to buy this pile of crap. Listen, man, I waited so long for the South American DLC that I ended up never buying it because I don't even want to play these South American civs after a point because they were just so tarnished by their mishandling that now that they're balanced, I don't even give a shit anymore. How many other players out there do you think are in the very same boat where they just like to play whatever they like to play and you don't need to buy a DLC unless you want to play the civs that are in it? You already know.
I'm sure there's going to be some thrills and some spills, but hopefully it's a good DLC. And we're lucky to still be getting content for the game. So,
citation needed, man. I don't know about that. I don't know at this point if we ought to consider ourselves lucky to be getting content. Because let's fucking remember, let's not have amnesia. This game was resurrected by content made by the community. We didn't need permission from Microsoft in the 2010s to bring this game back and continue playing it. We don't need it now. Maybe the game is better without this dog shit officially sanctioned content that sucks ass. Maybe it would be better if it was like the Forgotten Empires, where the only reason it became mainstream was because it was good enough to warrant that enough people in Voobly lobbies would play with it. Unlike some other mods that didn't make the cut. They earned it because it was optional. We didn't have this immense social pressure where you're expected to because it's official and all the tournaments are going to have it and all the pro players are going to have it. All your favorites are going to buy it. And you have all this pressure to conform. There's no conformity for Forgotten Empires. You play with it or you don't. That's how it originally was. And that was a lot healthier for the game. This is not.
Looking forward to your comments. I will read all around the community to see what people think about this.
Yes, sir.
Usually, I can't take credit for half the things I end up saying in follow-up videos because I'm reading some of the thoughts and observations of the whole community. So yeah, I'm sure I missed some things here. If I did, feel free to let me know. But yeah, really cool that we have more content coming for Age of Empires 2. And hopefully the tail end of 2026 will be amazing, leading up towards 2027. I'll work hard. I'll try and get early access from the devs and record some cool videos, experiment with these units, and keep Age of Empires 2 going strong. So thank you guys very much. Shout out to all the devs and everyone who put a lot of work and energy into this.
They didn't, but sure.
And apologies if I misread or my epic reading of the campaigns was possibly came off a little too sarcastic. I was just trying to sound epic. Hopefully it did that.
It's whatever.
We'll look forward to seeing what you guys have to say, and I'll catch you all soon.
You know, guys, more than anything, my feeling whenever I get to the end of these kinds of videos is a big dissonance between, on the one hand, my empathy to these creators and how I feel, how they feel, how does T90 feel, how does Viper feel, how does Hera feel, juxtaposed against this objectively shitty situation here with the game that we're all playing. It's hard to look at this stuff and to maintain that connection to these guys, especially in situations like this where they're doing patch notes reviews or new DLC announcements, and reading through things on ageofempires.com with all your favorites typically tends to be them at their least empathizable, if that makes any sense. But I try because I like this game in the same way that people like any sport. It's not because it's some kind of cosmic puzzle piece that just fits so neatly into my life. It's not my career. It's honestly marginally a drain, and I'm sure that's the case for most people. It's like soccer. You watch it, I watch AoE, and I've been doing this long enough that I know that's probably not going to change. So as long as I don't go crazy with it, it's just a fine part of my life. But it's just AoE. It's just Empire Earth, Age of Empires, whatever. This thing has existed for a long time, with or without Microsoft or anybody else. That's how I see this game. The reason that it's so upsetting to see people get boxed into this box that Microsoft puts everybody in for their sake of their profit is because I'm sitting here in the sidelines understanding that none of that shit's real. What the fuck do you mean you need Microsoft? Well, I mean, I guess you need it if you need to go host Red Bull Wololo, I guess. Is that really what this is all about, though? Is that what this comes down to? Or is that more like supposed to be icing on the cake? Isn't the cake itself the game, right? I thought we all had an understanding. But instead, what's happening here, you guys are going up against a long march against a corporation who has unlimited time and money and leverage against you to undermine it and use icing against you you so that they can corrupt the cake and make the cake out of increasingly shittier ingredients by controlling you with the icing of it. I don't know a nicer way to say it. The rest of us aren't getting that icing. We're not pro players. We're not streamers. No one cares when we make videos about Age of Empires 2 because we're normal. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not undeserving of having our own fucking opinion about this stuff. We're customers. We pay for this. Or I think in this case, we don't. We're not buying it. So yeah, the opinion does matter. In as much as that this view is broadly shared by other people in my position. 800 elo, 1000 elo, 1200 elo, whatever. This is bullshit. And it's very obvious. There's fundamentals that are wrong with this kind of stuff. And it's just extremely disappointing to see people that I know care a lot about this game not doing the right thing, doing the easy thing here, and just trying to support it because that's expedient and is going to get you approval and sanction from the people that you really hope will continue trickling money down onto your lap and letting you continue to host events and get-togethers and to do all these types of things with official corporate sanction while Microsoft and the mob basically pull all the strings behind the scenes on you guys and are puppeteering you guys like the fucking Godfather. That's not really love for AoE2. That's enablement. This is like someone with a substance abuse problem and you're giving them money. After a point, you need to look in the mirror and ask, what am I really doing for this? Do I really like this game? Am I really here for the love of it all? Or have I let my career consume it? Because that's what I think's going on here. And I don't like it. And I don't think very many other people are at this point in 2026. But whatever. What do I know, right? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.